Hey guys, Techie here, and today we're actually got some big news from Once Human Discord server. It went live today at 7:55 a.m. my time. But basically, the news tells us that there's a new permanent server solution they're gonna bringing out in March for Once Human. So your servers don't really end anymore. It has one with original wheel and one without, but it kind of keeps going as long as you log in within 30 days. You'll be fine, and as the time goes, they'll extend it. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the details of it. I'm taking my camera off so you can see the whole thing, but basically this is in the official Once Human Discord. I'm not leaking information, it's just public information. I read it a couple of times, and I have to be honest, I am not sure if I understand it entirely. But basically, all servers except private servers, so there's private servers, which we knew that was coming, but I believe then in that case, they will come before this one drops, and this drops in March. But let's keep going. So all servers except private servers will automatically be converted into permanent servers after closing. The conversion process takes approximately 2 hours, during which the server cannot be accessed. The processing time may vary, blah, blah, blah. The conversion process retains data of all active characters on the server, including their level, materials, deviations within their territories, and social relationships. I guess that means the hive and the warband and all that. Players can then continue using these characters on the permanent server. So this becomes, from the scenario, my understanding, again, this is completely to the point where my understanding of it is completely different to what it might be. I have no idea, but I'm going to first read through and then I'll come at you with what I think is the things, right? The conversion, we did that. Characters who have not logged in for an extended period, approximately 30 days, will not be able to be retained on the permanent server. Instead, they will enter the server settlement, so kind of like Eternal and sign up process by default. So what your usual experience is between servers? Okay, this is to protect inactive players from tying up resources, which is fine. That's totally fair. Characters initially transferred to the permanent server will also have this 30-day kind of ticking time bomb kind of clock. It's to make sure they're active. So if you don't log in for 30 days and you're in the server, you will get taken away and put back into this waiting area, I guess. Following conversion into permanent server, scenarios will come with or without visual wheel features. So visual wheel features are like those, like the lunar cycle and things that happen within a time period. Without visual wheel, the scenario will not be affected by the visual wheel, which makes sense. With visual wheel, the scenario will be affected by the visual wheel, and new visual wheel effects will become available over time. So basically, again, it's telling you there's lunar, non-lunar. You can have the normal manibus or the lunar manibus, same with Way of Winter, and I guess Evolution's Call and Prism. But basically, that's pretty much like two ways to go about it. The visual wheel is kind of like playing with a revolving change of effects, whereas the other one is going to be a mundane, straightforward, consistent experience. Scenarios with Blood Moon, which is a visual wheel tag, will be converted into permanent servers with visual wheel features. So if you're already in a Blood Moon, which is the lunar, and you enter this server thing, you'll stay within the Blood Moon thing and have the visual wheel features repeat for you. Scenarios without Blood Moon will be converted into non-visual wheel servers. So yeah, basically, it's just saying if you're in the scenario already, don't worry about it. It basically carries on what you've already gone ahead with. If two or more servers share the same region, scenario, and visual wheel status, they may be converted into separate worlds on the same permanent server. Players from these servers can visit each other by switching worlds. So instead of having, say, for example, if you're in the same scenario, so Way of Winter, Lunar, Europe, right? You will basically become a world of another permanent server, and you'll be able to interact with other people, which is great. I think that's going to be thing, like allow you to interact with a lot more people. We'll see more of a population. But again, I'll finish this, and I keep distracting myself by trying to explain what I think it is. But I'll finish reading this and then give you guys my input. So, and then we will upgrade the permanent server feature in Q2. Part of this upgrade, the login requirements will become 180 days instead of 30, and the timeline will be shared in the coming days. So a couple of things that stood out for me is it's coming on March 13th, which is honestly not that far. It's 3 weeks, right? Not that far at all. It's less than 3 weeks. So very, very important. I'm going to put my camera back on because we've seen it. But yeah, it's pretty close. It's less than 3 weeks. Great. The permanent server thing, I don't know if this was teased in a call before. I've not been part of any of those. As you guys know, I'm fairly new to the game. And it's something that I'm not in tuned with if this was mentioned before. This is just from me reading this announcement and what I've understood from it. So if I'm missing something, please do let me know in the comments. As you guys always know, I'm happy to hear if you have a different viewpoint or I'm saying something that doesn't make sense. Let me know in the comments. But basically, yeah, so you have permanent servers. You don't really have the scenarios, I guess, anymore. I don't know how that's going to change. I don't know if this is going to become a case of like how the phases will work. Basically, if you're going to have it pop in and basically after phase 5, you go back to phase 1 and you start over again and again, you keep your deviations. I don't know how that impacts the gameplay because a lot of the game, even though I was kind of annoyed about the whole losing everything before I started playing Once Human, it was one of the things that made me hesitate. I actually enjoyed the fact that you lose a lot of things because I feel like your experience is going to be quite boring otherwise after if you were able to carry through and not lose anything. But this might be, again, something I'm misunderstanding, but it does feel like with a permanent server, you're not really joining another scenario unless, I guess, you're swapping from visional wheel to non-visional wheel. And when it comes to visional wheel, they're going to keep going. What I think this really does is it basically syncs all of the servers. Because currently you have servers opening I believe every Thursday, Tuesday. It's just like it spreads across the week. Now they're going to just have one server and it's just one thing. So if you're in Europe and if you're in a visional wheel and you're in Way of Winter, those are the only 3 things they'll think about. They're not going to have Way of Winter open 3-4 servers over a multiple period of time. They're going to just merge all the visional wheel servers that's in Europe with Way of Winter, and they'll become worlds to each other, which I think is very cool, but it's also a little concerning. I don't know how the gameplay experience is going to change purely because the server load is going to shoot through the roof. At least that's what I'm thinking, even with the 30-day cooldown. Now, the other way is I know this is not something that people usually say, but there are a lot of alt accounts being used. What has happened? What happens with that? Again, server resources being tied up. I am very curious and I'm a little concerned about the resources available once you do this kind of merge. But at the same time, it's pretty exciting because it is a change, and I think the game needed a change. I think it was kind of leading. Everyone I talked to is kind of heading towards like a burnout of, oh, there's not much content. Yes, Lunar was great, but there's only so many Lunar runs you can do. This is fantastic. I had a blast, 3 scenarios in a row, but now I'm going to have to try PvP or something just to give me a different flavor. So this might make it easier for you to play with more people, and this changing the core mechanic of the wipe. If it does, again, I'm assuming based off the word permanent server. Now, it could mean completely different to people that making it. Like the devs probably mean it as a completely different thing, but for me, when I hear permanent servers, that means no wipe. And this bit that's being mentioned, characters. Characters, no. Where's the conversion process retains all the levels, materials, deviations within you're using them in the permanent server. Means wherever you are at this point, when the permanent server conversion happens, you'll continue to carry through. At that point, how does the game decide which phase you're in? That's a question that I don't see an answer to in here. Now, again, I don't know if there was a dev call before this that people more in the know or people that have played for a long period have seen this happen and will come out with an answer for it. I would love to hear that. I'm again extremely excited, but also quite worried because I do feel like if you have a game like Once Human, which is not like ping sensitive in a lot of ways, you don't have to have the same kind of ping as the person you're playing with. Not in PvP, I would think you would need that in PvP, but in PvE and general experience, you don't really need, like, you don't care if, unless it's like timing the jump and stuff, you can still manage with like a 250 ping, which is what I get at the peaks. 160 to 250 is what I get usually when I play, which is fine. But when you throw all these people into one permanent server, that concerns me. The worlds, the way that's done, that kind of makes me think the load of the server will be a little too much. And I'm sure the 30-day will kick out the inactive, but I feel like the clones, the alt accounts, all of them will populate the 30-day easy. They'll log in to keep it alive. So I don't think that's going to really solve that issue. Basically, next, the thing that I'm worried about is how does this change progression? How does this change the phases? And what happens at the end of, like, say, phase 5? Because phase 6 kind of becomes moot because the whole point of phase 6 is to go to the next server. So, or maybe it just restarts and does the wipe anyway. I don't know. You just basically don't change the server. The phases just keep cycling. It could be something like that. Or I'm just reading too much into this. This is just purely a backend thing that you're not even going to notice. But the way they mentioned everything in here makes me feel like you will definitely feel a difference. And they made it a point to say, hey, if you're in a Blood Moon, if you're in a Visional Wheel scenario, you will continue to be in a Visional Wheel type of permanent server. So there is a conversion that really happens where you get taken from your current scenario and you get put into a permanent server with all the deviations, all the things and everything that comes with it. But again, that goes back to my question. If I'm in phase 4, I've got tier 5 gear. This is maybe more concerning for PvP people, but if I'm in tier 5 gear running tier, and I'm the other person's tier 1 and has just unlocked tier 1 gear and just started out their scenario, if we get put into the same world in the same server, I can just swap to their world and go noob stomp them. I don't know how that would work. Same concerns with PvE as well. Like if I have a lot of resources, for example, I'm at the end of my scenario, I have a ton of energy link. What happens to the permanent server when I go in and I have all this energy link and they don't? So for me, that's the confusion. That's where it's coming from. Like, I love the merged worlds. I hope they do away with regions next. I really want to be able to just join the Japan server, join the US server. There are a lot of people I know that play on both. I would love to like jump in, play with them for like 2-3 weeks, and then jump back into my EU server. It'd be great. Sadly, that's not a thing yet, and that doesn't seem to be a thing in the announcement either. But I do feel, I'm interested. I'm curious. I'm worried. I'm all sorts of emotions. But if you guys understood something else from this, please let me know in the comments. Like I said, I don't know if I'm reading this completely wrong, but I feel like this is a pretty monumental thing. And I looked at like the patch notes and all that. Nothing seemed to actually pop up that told me this is what's happening. This is it kind of just was like, oh, it's just another Monday. Please let me know what you think of this change. I think it's cool. It needed a change. I'm not sold on this being the change. I feel like you should, the region, to say, that kind of restriction, if that was lifted first and then this. But I think this is a lot more new player friendly. It's going to be attracting more new players to Once Human, because if you don't have to worry about the wipe, a lot more people are happy to put more time into it. I do think wipe is kind of an integral part of the game, the way it's working, the way it structures its process. But yeah, I'm very keen to see how this goes, and hope you guys enjoy the video. If you did, and if you have somebody that you want to send this to, feel free. If you want to drop a sub, I'd appreciate that. We do Once Human streams on this channel. I'm currently playing A Way of Winter Lunar, although I have to say I haven't been very active on it. So my bad. But yeah, drop a sub if you haven't, and thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys dropping by with all the videos and just hanging out. And yeah, hopefully I can give you guys some more of like an updated video down the line once we have an interaction in the comments and I actually learn more. I'm happy to update this video and talk more about it. But this is what I understand at this point. So let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.